Let me come on. Hi everyone. I don't know if you can hear me. Just trying to share my screen. Welcome again. Oop. Okay, actually, wait. Just going to introduce our speaker very quickly because she has quite a bit of content for us, so I don't want to take up too much of our time. Um, Presenter view. Okay, anyway, let me just share it the way I see it. So, without further ado, okay. So Miss Lara Kayode is an esteemed founder of Kayode and Co., a distinguished law firm. Of course, I'm going to summarize her background just so I don't take too much time. But as you can see, her specialty is in intellectual property law. She's done this for decades, catering to different industries across pharmaceutical, SMEs, FMCG, automobile. She studied in the UK, where she commenced her career or her academic career, University of Buckingham, and also the Queen Mary Westfield University. She's also been admitted as a solicitor and barrister of the Court of Nigeria. Her professional trajectory has evolved through pivotal roles in IP law. And she has been a CDR accredited mediator since 2005. And so, yes, she has, she's part of the Nigerian Bar Association. She has served as a vice president of the Nigerian National Group. And she has a ton of accolades. Recognized for her exceptional contributions, she's an esteemed eminent practitioner by Chambers and Partners, MIP Trademark Practitioner of the Year 2023, and a WTR Global Leader. Notably, she was honored with the prestigious INTA President's Award in 2019, becoming the first African woman of color to receive this accolade. So as you can see, we have a very distinguished IP expert, not just any IP expert. And beyond her professional endeavors, she is a mother, caring for her lovely daughter and 2 dogs. In her leisure, she teaches time to running an online Bible club for youth, and she's also interested in travel, culinary exploration, and she also mentioned tennis before the start of this call. So you're very welcome, Ms. Lara Kayode, and I'm just going to hand over to you. Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to a wonderful session. I think you're muted.
See, technology. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah Mide. Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Am I audible? Got my AirPods. Just thumbs up if you can hear me. Anyone? Can you hear me now? Yes? Excellent. Okay. Thank you so much, Aramide, and thank you, Niger Startups, for inviting me and having me speak about something that I'm very passionate about. IP is what I do. And it was so funny when you said she's done it for decades. Indeed, I have. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen? I'm going to try.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't want all of this to be visible. So preventive view. Is that better? Do you see my whole screen?
I think still the thumbnails.
Okay. So let's see. Screen. I just want to share the page. My IT gurus, you gonna help me? Precious, Dozie, are you on? Is that better? You can still see the screen. Anyway, let me just get on with it because there is quite a bit of content to get through. Okay, so my homework or my assignment, if you can hear me, is to talk about IP in the digital age. And, when we got this, we sent a couple of topics, obviously, asking, so when we got this, we were like, okay, this is fun. We'll look at it. So how many members online actually are entrepreneurs? If you just indicate by Show of hands. Okay, one. One interpret. And if you don't mind putting in the chat room too, what area of, if you haven't done that already, what area it is that you work at. So I have, okay, creative director. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so how many of us have content, actually have digital content? So you may be an author and your book is online. Thank you, Ibuku. Thank you. You may be an author or a musician and your book is online. Yes, okay. A musician. Yeah, okay. So we have, what is IP for starters? Intellectual property, the property of the mind. We say it's like real property. So when I tell people that I'm an intellectual property practitioner or lawyer, they say, "Oh, okay, I have some property, yes, some land." I'm like, "No, not real property." So say, "Is it unreal property?" It's not unreal. No, it's intangible. So we start from there. We start I've seen a couple of members of my team on board. If they could please give me a pointer onto how to not show all of this. Jose, I see you on board. If you can tell me what I need to do so that I don't have to show all of this, I'll be really grateful if you send me a private message. So, IP in the digital age, what's that all about? How do you safeguard digital content and online presence? Online presence is like a wild, wild west, world wide web, www, everything goes. You put it on there, and before you know it, you're in Lagos, um, you're in Abuja, you're, all over the place, and all of a sudden, slideshow that open my notes. Okay, thank you. Let me do that. And I feel more comfortable doing that. This do slideshow, play from start. Can you see my screen now?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. So now I have to go and look for my notes. So we're talking about IP in digital age. That's what we're talking about today. And I begin to wonder, how do you protect your intellectual property online? Is there any such thing? Is it possible to do that? I'm just going to get my notes out. Is it possible to do that? Yes, it is. How do you go about doing it? Well, for starters, you have to have a right. So we're going to start from there. So it's going to be somehow somewhat elementary. Pardon me if you already know this, but I know it's recorded, and I know that this will be replayed. So if you know it already, just switch off and then come back later. So the wide, wide west, as I say, the world wide web, the digital challenge. What's going on? The online business is booming. The economy is booming. I'm just going to get my notes up while we speak. So online is booming. We're creating content. We're creating content. Sorry. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. So Nigerian digital economy is booming. We have more entrepreneurs and businesses online. If I ask now how many people are actually doing business online, I'm sure quite a few people will indicate and say they are. But the rapid growth brings challenges. It means that your content is easily copied, infringements can happen, copycats can, kind of take what you've created and try to, modify it somewhat, but still claim to have that right. And then IP, as we know it, intellectual property, is territorial. So ordinarily, you protect your trademark in a territory where you use it or where you're domiciled. So you begin to, I hear somebody asking already, so if it's territorial, how am I going to deal with the man in Ghana or Ivory Coast or China or the UK who's literally just lifted my Instagram page and is passing himself off as me? So we now have traditional territorial IP, but we now have global infringement. How do we deal with that? And how do you protect your hard work? How do you prevent other people from copying and getting away with it? That's what we're here to discuss today. And why did I say it's territorial? So if you're like the example I give all the time when I teach this is, imagine a plot of land in the choicest part of where you live. So in Lagos, it would be probably Banana Island, somewhere in Ikoyi. If in Abuja, it will be Maitama. Whatever part of the world that you live in, there's a plot of land, you've bought it. The first thing you do is to protect it or ensure that at least the person selling it to you has a right to do so. And so when that is going with real property, it should also be going on with intangible property, intellectual property. So global infringement. How do I curtail global infringement? And global these days is literally on your computer. A musician puts music up. It's, before you know it, it's copied and taken. It's just one click and it's all over the world. So how do you protect that? So why does IP matter? It matters more than ever now because there's value in IP. There's value in your creations. There's value in your brand. These are valuable assets in your business. So your name, for instance, your brand name, your logo, your colors. Sometimes, for instance, the telecoms business in Nigeria, we identify them by color easily without them saying a word. If the 3 or 4 providers show up on media today, you kind of know who's who. When you see the bright yellow, you see the red, and you see the green, the lime green. You know that they belong to that. They're banks who have colors. So you think of, if I say to you, oh, the orange bank, or I say to you, the bank with the elephant, and I say to you, oh, so there are many, many ways in which we describe our products, our services. These are valuable, these are assets. So that's why IP actually does matter and why you must protect this IP. So the next thing that there's a buzzword nowadays is monetization. How do you monetize my IP? It's just my name, it's my trademark. How do I monetize it? How do I get value from it? So the first thing for you to get value, you have to have protection. Protection, strong IP protection will assist you. It will attract investors. It will secure your funding. You can license your work. You can build a strong brand. When I say licensing, we know about franchises. There's certain food brands in Nigeria that have franchises across, the nation. It isn't the same person. It's one brand, one product, but it's sold across the nation. And they have to maintain a standard. They have to have the same standard. The recipe that we know, for instance, there's a particular chicken brand that they say to you that, the 57, I think, spices that go into making the chicken. It's become part of their brand identity. So if somebody else came and said, "Oh, I use 37," immediately you'd be like, we know who you're trying to copy. Do you understand? So that is part of your brand. That's what you do to build your brand. In monetization enables you attract investors. I'm talking to my cosmetic brand owners. These days, you have worldwide brands knocking on African doors, looking for partnerships. If you haven't protected yourself, if you haven't created a brand, an identity, it's impossible for you to, literally be at level playing field with the people you're discussing with. And we walk away leaving a lot of money on the table when we really could be, on par because you have a service or a product or a way in which you do something that they need. But because you're not protected, you just go in there, you get given, quite honestly, a pittance. And then that's it. So you license your work. How do you license your work? You have to have something protected before you can license it. So for instance, there's a beverage, a cola beverage in Nigeria that is made under license by a Nigerian company. The brand owner, the original owner of that company is in Atlanta, but the product is made under license in Nigeria. Now, that particular product, we know the word out on the streets is that the formula is protected. The formula is a trade secret. It's not that's protected because it's not revealed, but the 3 or 4 people who know it don't travel together. They don't give the Nigerian company that product. They don't give you the secret formula, but there's a formula that they send to you, and you are to use it. So you find that on most bottles of these beverages, they say made under license by this company because there's a brand. They protect their brand. And why does IP matter? How do you protect your value in the digital world? If you don't protect, you can't enforce. So it's one thing to say, oh, they've copied my trademark, my color, my name. They've lifted my music. They've taken it and put, 2 minutes or under 2 minutes, and they've just played this much. But what have you done with it? Have you protected it? If you don't protect it, you can't enforce the right. So that's why IP matters more than ever, even in your, in the digital world. Okay, so my next slide, understand intellectual property. What is intellectual property? What's all this IP? What are we talking about? There are many types of, there are more types than I've indicated here. But because of the digital age, IP in digitally, that's why I narrowed it down to these types of IP. So you have copyright, trademarks, patents, trade secrets. Sometimes I get a phone call saying, I want to patent my name. And I smile because it's not possible for you to patent your name. So I'm just going to run through a simple definition of each of the rights as we go along. So copyright. Copyright really protects original works, codes, music, and videos, in addition to literary works, artistic works. Now, everyone is entitled to have an idea. The law does not protect ideas. The law protects your expression of that idea. And I think it's very important as entrepreneurs for us to know, and as IP owners, the law protects the expression of your idea. It does not protect your idea. There are 1,000,001 ideas all over the place. If the law protected every idea, then nobody will be able to do anything. So your work must be original for you to benefit from copyright. It could be code, it could be music, as I said, videos, literary works, artistic works, so art. And what copyright does, it provides control over the use and sharing of that. So it gives the owner the control over its use and also sharing. Trademarks. What's a trademark? A trademark, for instance, if you look at our names, both establishments, you have Niger Startups and Kayode and Co. We have a logo, we have some blue, we have some yellow. So our logo is part of our trademark or service mark because we don't have a product that we sell, but rather we have a service. So we have a service mark. So they're trademarks and service marks. And if I say trademark, I'm using it interchangeably. Niger Startups has a very distinctive uh, get up trademark. It could pass. So you have Niger, you have the color green, you have startups in a particular shade of I would say pink or purple. And I see even the U is like a little home or a chimney. I don't know. I don't know what it is. So these are things that make your brand distinctive, that make you different from the others. That is what the law protects. So your trademark, your service mark, your shield, your logo, your name, your slogan, everywhere we go should be protected. And I'm sure it is. And why is it protected? It just gives you distinction. It gives you marketplace distinction. It enables the consumer find you. It protects the consumer, protects you, the trademark owner. And sets your product apart from other product and service. Patents. So what's a patent? Do you have a groundbreaking tech invention? So, like I said earlier, sometimes I want to patent my name. You can't. You can't patent your name. What you can get a patent for is your innovation. Your innovation, and it has to be new. There are many requirements, that you could use. So your innovation gives you an exclusive right to your invention. To go back to the duration of a term that you have, with copyrights, 50 years, life plus 50 years of the owner. And for some works, it will be 70. For literary works, it's life plus 70, I believe. And for music, it will be life plus 50, or vice versa. For trademarks, you can have a trademark in perpetuity if you maintain it, if you renew it. So in Nigeria, the law provides for you to register, you register your first registration for 7 years, and then you renew after 7 years for 14 years, and 14 years subsequently until you stop renewing. For patents, you get protection for 20 years. So for technology, for tech inventions, for pharmaceutical products, a lot of research goes into that, and investment actually. So it gives the inventor or whoever it is that they assign it to, pharmaceutical company or even a tech company, time to reap the benefits of that invention. So it's 20 years from the date of filing. There are international treaties and all of that. But thank you. But that's another teaching. That's not just session altogether. Trade secrets. Trade secrets, they protect valuable business secrets. So especially with traditional knowledge, I know TK is now getting, recognition by the international organizations, and so they're getting protection as well. But there's a particular way, for instance, in which you prepare your shea butter, cream, soap, I don't know, something. It's a trade secret. So you safeguard it for a competitive edge. You don't protect it. You don't send it to any registry. Do you understand? Because the minute you send it to registry for public consumption, when patents go into the registry, when we register a patent, it's open. So you can go in there, you can reverse engineer, but you have to be sure that what you're doing it must create something novel, something new. So you have a monopoly for the 20 years, and then somebody else can go in there and say, okay, you know what, there's a better way. And if you notice with the telephones, our phones, you find that every year a new, can you hear me? Yes? Something happened to my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So, every year something new happens with the telephone. And so you find that for every upgrade, But for every improvement, a patent has been registered. So you find that, so rather than release iPhone 25 now, it will take a while before we'll get before we get the updated version. So they'll keep coming that way, if you see what I mean. So what is copyright? What qualifies for copyright in digital world? What is the originality key? What is fixation? Who owns the copyright? So what's copyright? It's automatic protection. So you automatically get protection for copyright for your original work the minute it's created. So those scribbles, for my fashion designers, your drawings, for the literary, for the artists, your sketches, for the writers, first draft, second draft, so you get automatic protection. I write my notes in a particular way. Remember, it's not the idea that's protected, it's how you express it. However, we now have to go into, in the digital world, what qualifies for copyright. Literary works, as I said earlier, including code, music, films, photographs, artistic works. Now, the issue of photographs comes up because I'm sure, and in my case study later, I hope I get it. We'll talk about the monkey selfie, the selfie, and AI and all of that. So photographs also you have copyright. So the man who takes your picture, you go to a wedding, and he takes your picture, he's got copyright in it. So that's why he comes to you, you pay for it. Once you've paid for it, does that mean that he ceases to have copyright with it? Yeah. So because he took the picture, you posed, he took your picture. It's your picture? Yes, it's the picture of you, but he's used his tool to take your picture. He says you pose, madam, do like this, and you do it. Then he shows up with your picture, and you sell it. You buy it. I beg your pardon. So copyright, the minute it's expressed, you have copyright in it. However, originality, it has to be original. Your unique expression, not your ideas, not facts, so the way in which you do it. So which is why, can you hear me?
Yes,
Somebody's
we can hear you.
author.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. You see, AI is not human, and we'll talk about AI later because the AI is saying it's quiet in here, but clearly AI can't hear me. So we'll talk about that later. So we'll have that discussion, and I'd really like us to talk about it. So what is originality? The originality here, as I said earlier, it has to be unique. There's no point in. So with the artists, you can draw. The Mona Lisa is the Mona Lisa. It's the Mona Lisa. Okay, that's why, and it's a very, very valuable piece of art. When you go and see in Rome, the Mona Lisa is not. It's behind a barricade. So you take pictures of it and all of that, but it's there. The original is the original. It's expressed in a particular way. The original idea came from just the artist, and they've expressed it, so they get protection for it. Your work must be tangible. It must be fixation. So it must be in a tangible form, saved on a computer, written down, recorded, on CD, your voice note. It has to be in tangible form. So no airy fairy, I'm the one that did it. Okay, where is proof that you did it? There's no proof. So it's very important that we bear that in mind. And who owns the copyright? The creator is usually the initial copyright owner, but there are exceptions. So works for hire, assignments, you commission somebody to do some paintings for you and all of that, so the exceptions to the general rule. Like with law, in law, for instance, for evidence, we spend 6 months, nearly half your semester, half your year studying evidence. The first the first sentence will be hearsay is inadmissible. And then you spend the rest of the session studying the exceptions when hearsay is actually admissible. So there's a general rule, but obviously there are exceptions. So who owns the copyright? Like I said, the copyright is owned by the original, the creator. And I would like to address this later when we talk about contracts, when we employ people, especially my musicians. When you're sitting together and you're in a group, you're in a session, you have to be very careful, um, as you go along. So, and it seems as if I'm concentrating on copyright. No, I'm not. It's because you get more with copyright than you do. No worries. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Leah. So, exclusive rights granted to the copyright owner. I'm just gonna bear with me 1 second. Pull up my notes. Excellent, thank you. So, exclusive rights that you have. Remember, I said you get exclusivity as a copyright owner. So you have rights to reproduce your work. So if the creator is the owner of the copyright, remember the example I gave about the photographer and the photo. So he has the right to make copies of his work. He has the right to distribute that work. He has the right to show the work to the public online or offline. He has the right to, for public performance, music plays, and also adaptation of the work. So you have all these rights. These are the rights that you get as a copyright owner. You control the making of copies of your work in any format. So if somebody gets up and decides, I'm just going to copy, all of this, you have a right to stop them. It ensures that only the owner or the authorized agent can duplicate the work. Right of adaptation. I know on TV these days, there's so many apps and systems where we can watch supposedly movies for free. It's not free. You're a pirate if you're and I know on one of the on DSTV you get those adverts that pop up and say to you, are you watching something for free? You're pirates. So you're partnering with piracy. So please, it's funny, but imagine if you are the movie producer, all the blood and sweat that goes into producing, and effort and money and all of that, and then all of a sudden, it just goes free for all. That's not the intention. So, it's something to bear in mind when we get offered those options to watch movies. The little money you pay goes towards, paying the creator of the work. Same with music. So you have a right to adapt, as I said, adaptation. I mean, I've talked about reproduction, distribution, public display, public performance, and also adaptation. So you have the right to do that. You also have the right to control it. So you authorize people to do it. You can allow people or not allow. We have cases where people go and pick music belonging to artists without permission, create a YouTube page and begin to generate content and funds from it without permission. And it will tell you what we do with those later. But those are the rights. So you have a right to control it. You also have a right to, stop people from doing it. For instance, books. You have a right to control where your book is published and distributed, either in a bookstore or online. Unauthorized distribution, such as selling pirated DVDs. There's a part of Lagos that we go to, that they used to go to. In fact, I remember very early in my career, we had a musician come to us and they said to us that, look, the only way I'm going to get my business, my CD sold is if I go to these people. They're the ones I'm going to give it to. Yes, they will copy it, but at least I'll get something, out of it. But thank goodness, I mean, that seems to have changed. So you unauthorized distribution, infringes that right. And sometimes you find that due to desperation or lack of knowledge, really, if you ask me, um, owners of work, owners of musical or even artistic works go to, the copying people to to help them distribute so they can get something. Okay, and we're still talking about copyright issues online, copyright in digital landscape. Um, where am I? Thank you. So, what happens when someone uses your copyrighted work without your permission? Now, there is, as I said earlier, there are many exceptions in law to many general rules. Fair use is fair use. So we say fair dealing, fair use, fair deal comes, you can, for criticism, for commentary, news reporting, for education. So I wonder, there's some blogs online that just come there and they put stuff on there and then we tear it down. Is that fair use? That the jury is out on that. So when is it okay to use someone else's copyrighted work? So is it fair dealing, for commentary, as I said, for criticism, for news reporting? I mean, surely the news reporter shouldn't be looking for you to, you know, inform, the general public about the fantastic thing that you're doing. But when infringement happens, we've talked about infringement. How do you enforce, your rights online? For instance, when you see your IP rights being infringed, or a copy or a fake or whatever you're going to call it on an online platform, it's possible to have it taken down. So you apply, there's a takedown system, so notices are served, and that's how you enforce your copyright. But remember, yes, copyright comes automatically, but there's certain things you must do to establish that, you have the right. So for instance, in Nigeria, we don't have registration per se, but you can file a notice of ownership at the Copyright Commission. So that way, at least there's evidence that you are the owner of, this right. There are also other things that we can do to establish ownership of this right. As we go along, we'll talk about that, linking and embedding. How do you, understanding the copyright implications of linking to and embedding content from other websites. Now, how you see something on maybe my website, and you say, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then you just take it and say, oh, I was just using it without permission. That could um, become an infringement matter because you haven't asked for permission. In books, in our books, you have the copyright claim. Copyright, no part of this book must be copied, published without prior permission of, and they tell you where you can get the permission from. So those are things that we should bear in mind as we also because sometimes you may think, oh, they're copying me, but are you also copying somebody else? Have you unwittingly, copied somebody else's right? And we're talking about IP in the digital age. Am I making sense? Are you following me? I feel like I'm a radio station, but so I just need to know that you're with me. Okay. So practical strategies to protect your copyright. Use your copyright notices, the C symbol. Somebody the other day asked me about it. Said, which one is R? Which one is TM? Which one should I use? I said, are you even registered? And there was silence on the other line because they were not. So, oh, sorry. So use your copyright notices. Use your C symbol on your website and content. Look, and also please update, especially if you're still like me, you have a website. Please try to update your website. Sometimes you go to somebody's website and you see you'll see 2021 or 1998. I mean, hello, nobody's visited this website all this time. Please, try to look at that. So use your copyright notices, C symbol on your website and your content. Use watermarks, metadata, technological measures to deter unauthorized copying. We'll talk about that a bit later. But you can use your watermark. For instance, the particular members of my team, when they send out drafts, the watermark on it, even if I always, I'm like, hang on, it's not that bad. Surely, no, we have to have a watermark. Even if they copy it, we can have, we'll have evidence to show that, we actually had they copied us. So and there's a lot that you can do online, to cover your, put your identity, your digital print, your digital identity on your work, and then monitor online platforms for infringement and know how to take down. Look, I find that a lot of entrepreneurs don't look at what their competitors are doing. In the olden days, it will mean that you had to go to somebody's shop, okay? Maybe pretend to be somebody, blah, 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 to find out what they're doing. But these days, you don't need to do that. These days, all you have to do is go on somebody's site and see what's going on. Yes or yes? The answer is yes. So monitor online platforms, not just for, to see what the competition is doing, but also for, perhaps your website or your product, has been taken away. I mean, one of a member of my team told me how their website had been, the only reason they knew that their website had been cloned was because the company that had copied their, website, and they were in the same line of business, had used their email address, no, their website address inadvertently. So had the name .com as opposed to the nation that they were in. So they had registered that name clearly in their nation, but they that's how they came up, across this website. So they wouldn't have known that this was going on. So you should monitor online platforms. There are people you can pay to monitor online platforms on your behalf, to check what's going on, in your industry. And also learn to issue takedown notices. And if you don't want to, hire us. That's why we're here. We're here for you to assist you. Just hire us. We'll help you with your takedown notices and all of that. But monitor, I think monitor your online platforms. Look at what's going on. Don't just think you're in a bubble and think that nobody's going to copy me. I guarantee you, if you're successful, there's somebody somewhere watching you, seeing what you're doing. They may take bits and pieces of what you do and recreate it, so to say. But there's somebody watching, protecting your brand online. So we're looking at trademarks now. So we're looking at trademarks. I have here clearance, registration, and monitoring. You have to choose a strong trademark. What makes a trademark strong? What makes a trademark stand the test of time? It's distinctive. It's memorable. It's relevant to your online business. It's not descriptive. So it's so funny. A descriptive name just popped into my head, and I wonder if it's actually registered. And I don't want to. Okay, yes, I don't want to go into names of products here actually. So clear your name. Clear your name. Make sure. Do a search at the trademark. Don't say, "Oh, it's my name. Nobody will use it." You'll be surprised. Remember, ideas are free. And if you believe that ideas come from above, so they come at the same time, all of you grab what you want, and then what makes you think that is unique to you? So to save yourself some money before you register, do a search. And then protect your brand. I would say terrestrially and extraterrestrially. So entire pharma trademark registry, go there, do your search, protect your trademark. Online, on online platforms, protect your websites, your social media, your domain names. Your domain name is part of your logo. It's part of your identity. If you're an online trader, that's the only identity we know with you. So it's your name, you know. So make sure it's protected, make sure it's registered. And then I will not stop flogging this horse. Monitor. Monitor for trademark infringement. Online monitoring, enforcement. Deal with cyber squatters. There are people who make it their duty to register trademarks. You know, they sit, decide, we're going to register websites, domain names. During the just a few months before the we just had the American elections, and I think there was a gentleman who had gone to register out of the blue. I mean, I don't know how he came about it. What's her name? The vice president and her proposed vice president, they didn't win. So he had gone and registered the domain name and he got paid for it because they wanted to use it. Do you understand? There's a particular company who's refused to sell it. They didn't buy the domain name that was sold to them, and so they lost it, but they used something else. So it's important, you know. That's awesome. Thank you very much, Shaya Shiru. That's a good one. So you have to be your own police. It used to be that, you would look at, regular, go to the shops, market survey. Nowadays online, there's no time. You don't have time for that, but you have the tools. So the AI tools are not only, you don't use AI for the stuff that we use it for, you can also use it to help you, trace your, monitor your brand. I know my time is short. I've told you, and we'll share our slides, do before you launch, conduct searches, register your mark with trademark registry, consider international trademark protection. I know a lot of our brand owners have jackpot. I deal with a lot of jackpot entrepreneurs who live in countries that, even though Nigeria is not a signatory to certain treaties, that country is signatory and they live there and they do business there, you can take advantage of those international trademark registrations. So that's something to bear in mind. And also monitor databases and all of that. We've spoken to that already. Compliance and registration, I'll just, you will look at the bodies that you should register your trademark, or you should register your product. It depends on your product. So if you're a food-based product, definitely you need NAFDAC or FDA in the States. If you have NAFDAC in Nigeria, if you're a pharmaceutical company, the same thing. If you're a non-food but standard-based organization, you go into SON. So you look at that. So those, and then FCCPA. FCCPA, the Consumer Protection, the Federal Consumer Protection Group. I find this group so useful because sometimes brand owners only find out about the infringement when the consumer protection person knocks on their door to say your product somebody has complained about your product. And then they realize and say, excuse me, this is not my product. What do you mean it's not your product? This is not my product. And so that's something to bear in mind. Remember, I said earlier that IP protects the consumer as well as the brand owner. So the Consumer Protection Zone regulatory body it's important. NAFDAC helps you with NCC, and this is talking about bodies. The compliance and regulatory, of course, the trademark office, IPO, NAFDAC, SON, FCCPA, the customs. All these bodies help you. And you may think, about I'm online. Yes, they will help you. Make sure that your paperwork is complete. When it comes to, I've talked about this already, your domain is securing your online presence, your digital footprint, your domain names, your social media, online infringement. I mean, we know that happens. Just bear with me while I get these notes up because the notes are swollen. Okay. Okay, I'll just keep on going because I know that my time. How much time do I have left, Hamidi?
About 5 more minutes and then Q&A.
5 and quite Q&A. Okay, perfect. Okay, so contracts and licensing. This is very important. I have this be in my bonnet because this is where you really you have to protect your IP in online agreements, even offline agreements, terrestrial and I think extraterrestrial. Online collaboration, when you're licensing your work, when you're using third-party content, it's important that you dot the I's, cross the T's. And what are the things that you're looking? Who owns the IP? What use are you going to permit? What are you restricting? And what's the termination clause? Please have contracts. No matter how small your business is, you're not too small to have a contract. I spoke about the music people earlier. When we sit down, we do those jam sessions, your keyboardist is there, your whatever. You're the one writing. You're the one who's brought everything together. And then he wakes up tomorrow and says to you, I'm part of the I contributed to the creation of this copyrights of this blah blah blah, and then you find yourself and you're like, okay, do you have a contract with him? No. Do you have an agreement with him? No. So how are we going to deal with it? So you don't want them to hold you to ransom. When you're collaborating online, please, 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 contracts, licensing. It's very important. The discussions you need to have them early. Like they say to you when you're about to get married, have those conversations before you get married, because when you get married, you'll be too late. So the uncomfortable conversations, you have to have them as you're dealing in those online agreements. Tech tools for IP protection, digital rights management systems, content identification systems, blockchain. These are all tools that we can use to protect our IP as we create them. I have some notes on this I can share with you, Aramide. I'll share this with you when we're done. So you control access to your content. So especially I have content creators who I'm just creating content, but you put, some ingenuity into creating your content. So have you gone onto some sort of DRM? Do you have DRM to protect it? Content identification systems to track the use of your copyrighted work. Sometimes you put stuff on YouTube, you put stuff online. Are you tracking it? Do you know who's looking at it? By the time you see a particular big conglomerate checking you out all the time, you know that a conversation is about to take place, or they're about to pull the wool from under your feet. So be aware. That goes back to the monitoring that I talked about. And then blockchain technology, like I said earlier, to prove your ownership, authenticity, for your digital assets is also, you can use those tools. So those are tech tools we use online. Enforcement. How do you enforce, copyright or trademarks? Understand your options that are available, cease and desist letters, take down notices. We talked about that. Work with internet service providers. Sometimes you find that internet service providers are actually happy to help you remove, counterfeit pilferers of your trademark and your work and your products. Because some internet providers are literally they're just computer stores, they're just warehouses. They collect the stuff, but once they know that, and then you tell them, see, I'm aware that this person is selling on your platform. Can you please, take it off, take it down, and then preserve evidence. There's nothing like preserving evidence, which is why, the tech tools are important, are useful. You're able to keep, record of your rights. In the olden days, they used to say to you, write yourself a letter with a post stamp. We don't do that anymore. Send yourself an email for the first day that you began to express that idea. That will help you and keep your evidence, protect your evidence. Importance of documenting and preserving evidence of online infringement, that was what helped my colleague with their website. They had evidence that they had been there before this other company, and they had registration in that particular country, even though they were not working out of that country. Okay, I don't think I have time for this. If we have time at the end, we can give the examples: music, fashion. I think we all have one story or the other that we can tell, where somebody has stolen music and put it on, their YouTube page, or try to pass it off as theirs. Exactly. The Yes, yes. Thank you, Ipukwamolulu, for the Sinach, and I think it's Mae case. And there's also the dress. I think it's America dress. So even in Nigeria, we're getting these things. These cases are coming up, and we're beginning to stop and say, okay, hang on, what's going on here? People are beginning to be a lot more aware of the protection and the fact that they have rights. Next slide. Okay, so I talked briefly about this, NFTs and the metaverse. Now, we don't have time for this. Perhaps, we can share this, there are trends in digital space where, you can protect the NFTs and the metaverse. There are challenges, the opportunities, but there are also challenges. And also, who owns copyright in AI generated content? I say to my young, I have a lot of young students that I teach. I'm like, it's okay. I'll just go on to ChatGPT, and I'm like, hello, you better make sure there's some human effort put into that. Otherwise, the same question you put on there, if your teacher puts it on there, you'll get your answer. So be very careful, about that. Okay. I think I'm just in time for question and answer.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. That was so insightful.
Welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think
Welcome.
it's time for Q&A. I know we've seen some
Yeah, I can
questions in
stop
the chat,
sharing.
but if
Mhm.
people want to sort of ask, either you put it in the chat, or if you can raise your hand, we can take one or two live. But yeah, if you're not comfortable asking live, feel free to put it in the chat. I know we have Miss Lara's team as well responding to questions. All right,
Questions?
maybe I'll start. I'll just kick it off.
Okay. Yes.
Why is it so hard to enforce IP on fashion in Africa? We talk about, yeah, you sketch, you have the design, you have this custom thing, and then when it's time for another competitor or so-called competitor or copycat to copy it, you can't do much about it because even the market is happy to go for something that is what's the word, copied, right? Stolen.
Yes.
So
Copied, stolen.
what can you do? Like, how do you circumvent or, yeah, protect yourself as a creator in fashion?
Okay. Right. So, I mentioned the Meraki dress. I think they didn't go to court, but it was something that was copied, sold online. Somebody referred to it. She said it was, she was complimenting, but the original designer didn't find it funny. So instead of so copyright, there's a limitation to protection you can get from copyright. But like I said earlier, there are exceptions to every general rule. So where something is done for mass production, you can't really claim, the law would not give you copyright protection. However, you can register other aspects of IP. There was an old case, Gucci and Forever 21, where Gucci sued Forever 21 for trademark infringement. And they said they claimed significant losses due to the latter's actions. And what was the action? That they had copied the stripes. I think the green Gucci's stripes, they had copied them, and the court recognized both parties had a claim, asked them to go and settle. Now, when you say your designs or your sketches, your unique, there's a particular brand. that has what I would call an iconic slipper. There's so many copies out there, but they have never sued anyone. And their argument is this: their slippers cost $600, $700. The copies are like between 50, maybe $60. And so the argument is that it really is not a dilution of their brand, because their customers, their original customers, will never go and buy the $60 clippers. And they've been around for a long time. And the minute they try to enforce that right, they will lose it, because they will be proved that they are no longer distinctive. Do you understand? So they have protection. Their argument is, look, my customer is not going to go to this other store to go and buy this $50 thing. Do you understand what I mean? So that's an aside. But then when you see fashion is fleeting, so they say, but there's some classics, and this particular shoe is the classic. So let's put it that way. For instance, if somebody is going to buy and for sake of argument, I'm not holding brief for anybody, a Dior dress, a Dior wedding dress, the true Dior wedding dress. They're going to save up, they're going to buy that dress. If you come out tomorrow and say you're making, if the person that's going to buy a wannabe dress is never going to buy the original. Do you see what I mean? So you find that designers will say to you, rather than say they're registering their drawings, they have a name, they have a trademark. You cannot copy a bag and call it the name that the owner has called it, because it's a trademark. Then they will get you for trademark infringement, because what you're trying to do is pass off the product as their product. You're trying to reap what you have not sown. So rather than so it will be for fashion designers to begin to examine and explore the types of IP rights that they should be filing for. Do you see what I mean? So rather than say, oh, I'm doing my copyright, my designs have been stolen. So what's distinctive about your design? What is the name you have called your design? So if it's a Lara dress, do you understand? It's a Lara dress. So you can't go up and say, I'm doing it's Lara dress. Then I'll get you, because I have a trademark or a service mark in a particular class to cover that design. So I think it's really, rather than say, oh, it's difficult to enforce, what rights are you protected in the first place? So that's why you need to take it under advisement. Okay, I see that my team are answering. They're answering questions already. Okay. So they can copy for them to even copy the design, for you to even invest in protecting that design, it means that there's a lot that's gone into it. Do you see what I mean? But there are other assets, as you say, they are the value. Remember, we talked about value. There are other assets that they have no business, they will not be able to copy. So if they show up, for instance, if it's Lara brand, Lara dress, for instance, the Lara dress has some pleats and this, that, and the other, and there's time and effort that goes into it. I have copyright, for it. And, because it's original. Remember, it's an original design. I have copyright for my drawings, and then I have a special name for it. Somebody wakes up and says, okay, that dress is moving, I want to copy it. And then there's no way, yes, So the Oleku design, exactly. So the Oleku, she said, I didn't tell you, it wasn't custom made. It was one off the rack, but it's called Oleku. There are many people who say, oh, it's an Oleku. I said, you are not making Oleku. You can't, because there's something in that thing that has made her, there's something distinctive. It was a new way of doing a top and a wrapper. Do you understand? So you can't call it Oleku. You can't bold-facedly call it. So the lady who was complaining, I think it was actually a reverse. She said she had asked for a dress, a custom-made dress. And Diola Sego says that it wasn't a custom-made dress. It's one of the dresses in my collection. You came, you bought it. To be honest, and my argument will be, you haven't paid me enough for you to exclusively own the rights to that dress. A Dior bridal, a wedding dress made by Christian Dior takes a long time, and you pay through your nose, and you can say to them, I want you to make me my own dress. They'll tell you it's going to cost you so much. You pay your money. You're not going to walk out the street and see Sherifat wearing the dress. I guarantee you that. So those are the things that, I think even fashion people need to bear in mind. Sorry for the Sherifat. If there's any Sherifat on the way, sorry.
I had to laugh. Somebody's asking about trademarks versus service marks. She's not too clear on that. I think that's
okay.
Maybe we take that as a final question.
Okay. So a trademark will be applied to a product. So I'm not holding brief but this happens to be on mine. So this is a brand, is a trademark applied to the bottle of water. Kayode & Co. Intellectual Property Lawyers, Nigeria. Kayode & Co. I have a stylized way. I have a logo. I offer a service. I'm not selling rice. I'm not selling water. So trademark, you remember we said it must be fixed on something. Your IP you must fix it on something. So your product, so if you're, I'm trying to think of something else. Okay, so I have this. This is a product. This is the trademark. The service, like the banks are service marks. So a bank doesn't sell it sells a service. So the way we come about it is there's the classification of goods under the trademark law. So it's under those classifications that we register products and services. So if you, for instance, class 16 deals with paper, journals and all of that, and then there's the financial services section, class, I beg your pardon, that also is within that classification. So that's the difference. So we use them interchangeably. I use a trademark. I find a trademark is a trademark on a product. A service mark is for a service. So if you're, for instance, a hairdresser, you provide a service of hair making. You're well known for that. So it's a service. But you may have products that you have made. You brand with the name of your same name as your salon is on the product, and that is a trademark. That'll be registered as a trademark, while your service mark will go for the service you provide. Is that clear?
Hope so. Amma, feel free
so
to get clarification.
Yes, absolutely clear. Thank you so much for the clarification. Thank you.
Welcome.
Janice, we have one more question. Janice, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, so I firstly just want to say a massive thank you, because this has been very informative for me. I'm very grateful. I'm currently like a recent graduate, and I'm looking into intellectual property law, and I'm applying for a master's in a law conversion. But I have two questions for you. My first one is just mainly, what about IP law intrigued you and drew you to it? There's so many different areas in law to specialize in. I just wanted to know from just getting your sort of background, what actually solidified that area of law for you to specialize in. And then my second question is, as someone who has like a massive, a sort of a strong background in terms of entertainment and television, intellectual property has been almost like a cross section for me to see how my interest in television and film can be filtered through a legal lens. And so I wanted to ask, what advice would you give to someone who's starting out in intellectual property law, and sort of at the stage that I'm at? What advice would you give me? What kind of tips would you give me to sort of look into exploring intellectual property further?
Okay. So why did I go into IP? Okay, so I came across IP as not even as an undergrad in law school. So as an undergraduate, came to law school in Nigeria, and one of the commercial at law school, one of the things we did commercial. There's a commercial segment, and they talked about trademark. And then I worked in an IP firm, and I was fascinated by the fact that somebody can sit in their house, create a name, and get protection, and get a finance based on, get money, raise money. Literally, like I was intrigued that, look, it's property of the mind. So it's like real property. In Singapore, for instance, Singapore really has no natural resources. They have services, and you're able to raise collateral on your IP. That blew my mind. And so you can imagine, when I started off many, many moons ago. My polite friends said to me, I was very brave to decide not only to specialize, but to specialize in IP. And my not so polite friends told me I was just stupid, because everybody went into banking or real estate, or litigation. But within IP, you're able to do all of that. You can do IP litigation is exciting. It's fantastic, So there's so much that you can do with IP, and we deal with everyday products. So I was fascinated to learn, for instance, during my master, that products are made for certain jurisdictions. And because a product is made for Brazil, for instance, you can't come and sell it in Nigeria. And I thought, yeah, but it's the same product. But then the rationale is that if that's the case, then they would have done it, all over the place. So they're right. So parallel imports. So you can't bring a product in to compete with your own product with it. That consumer protection, fair competition, unfair competition. So it's very wide, but I was fascinated, by it. And then I did a master's, and I had a fantastic tutor who encouraged me and egged me and said, "Oh, you could do it." And so if I'm biased, if you ask me what my bias is, I say I'm really biased to trademarks, but I also love patents. I wish I could be a patent attorney to draw draw the specifications, but I'm not a scientist, so I just stick to what I know. I'm so sorry. Your second question was what? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I just couldn't unmute for a
Okay.
second. But my
Okay.
second question was just, what advice would you give? I'll put my camera. What advice would you give to someone who is basically at the early stages of
Your entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Just do it. Don't look. I had the advantage of youth. When I started out my practice, I didn't really have responsibilities, and so there wasn't really much to lose per se. However, I would say to you, I mean, with the advent of the way the entertainment industry has expanded, and there's so much to do. I mean, you just literally have to pick an area and focus on that, and you're good to go. And yeah, I'm passionate about IP. I will do IP for nothing. I mean, anybody who knows me, my team have banned me from, giving out free advice. I would do it literally for somebody was asking how to connect. You can connect, scan the code, and you'll find me on LinkedIn. And then I think my email address is in there. So I would say to you, just do it, go for it. Don't, it's daunting, it's not a popular, it's not a fun, it sounds like fun. My daughter says, oh, I want to be an entertainment lawyer. I said, you're not going to get to go to any of the shows. Let me just tell you that, if you don't know. So she goes, oh, so what will I be doing? I said, you're going to be reviewing contracts. So you have to be ready to review contracts. And, so that's something that I would say go for it and reach out. Any way I can assist you, I'm here. I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for sticking around as well. We're just going to crave 2 more minutes of your time to wrap up. I want to say thank you again to Ms. Lara for this insightful presentation. Look forward to having you join us again. Over to you, Precious. So we wrap up.
Wow, that was very great. I believe I speak the mind of all when I say this was an insightful discussion. Thank you very much, Ma, and we look forward to having you soon again. So to learn about our Business Leader Network, please kindly visit www.nigerstartups.co. I'll go ahead to put it on the chat, or you send me a private message about joining our team on Zoom. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we look forward to having more insightful discussions on IP law and other. Thank you very much, Ma.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye.